Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We are so excited to introduce to you our newest tremendous leadership author, the tremendous Jeff Butorac. And Jeff's book, Inner Rival Silencing the Negativity Within, is due to be released this month, January 2023. Of all the wonderful things to promise yourself and resolve to do in 2023, let's silence that inner negativity, your inner rival. Jeff, thanks so much for allowing me the honor of publishing and sharing your wisdom with the world.
Thank you very much for everything you've done so far, Tracy. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Jeff and why he is so uniquely gifted and qualified to write this. So, Jeff grew up in Rochester, Minnesota, and he's playing tennis and basketball. So, he's a wonderful athlete. And he went on to play collegiate tennis at St. John's University. And he coached multiple years of high school tennis and was a club teaching professional for over a decade. But Jeff is also a former NCAA men and women's basketball coach, along with coaching 6 years of boys high school basketball. And also, now he commits his time to helping athletes, teams, and organizations do the same and silence their inner rivals and quiet the negativity within. Again, Jeff, just excited to have you talk about, athletes really undergo some significant inner rival. Can you talk to me about what you experienced in your life and what led you to write this book? Because you draw heavily on how you actually muted your inner rival.
Sure. Yeah. So, a lot of life is hindsight and looking back on things, and if I go way back to when I was playing, early high school and college tennis, I had a really tough time controlling my emotions on the tennis court. And that is a big part of the game of tennis is being able to sort of subdue those loud vocal outbursts and that sort of thing and just sort of stay in the moment. And I struggled with that. When I would make an easy mistake, it would oftentimes turn into a four-letter word coming out of my mouth or a racket throw. And I didn't like that, but I couldn't figure out how to stop myself from doing it. So that sort of actually started to get me out of tennis a little bit, just because I was so frustrated with how I was acting. I didn't like being that way. And then when I was coaching college and high school basketball, as the years started to go, I started to find myself just becoming a little bit more negative, dealing with a little bit more anxiety. Found myself being more frustrated outside of the sports, just in general in life, and it just slowly snowballed. It wasn't like it was just one day all of a sudden I dealt with a lot of anxiety and panic. It was sort of a gradual thing, so I didn't notice it at the time, but it was looking back on it now, I can see where it just slowly started to add up. And eventually it got me to the point where I was dealing with panic attacks, to where it was tough to get out of the house, tough to just deal with everyday life. And I don't think it was sports in general that was the reason for that. It was my inability to deal with the emotions and things that come from playing sports that I was having trouble dealing with. And that can be whether you're in sales or with your family, if you're a performer of some sorts. It could be from anything. I struggled with wrapping my head around those emotions, those feelings, those thoughts, and then how to keep them from being so negative was a big thing I dealt with. I was very judgmental on myself. I judged myself against other people in my profession, friends of where they were in life and where I wasn't. And when you play this comparison game, never do you come out on a positive end. It always is going to end up negative in some way. And again, looking back on it, I can see I played a lot of the life's not fair. Why is this happening? Why is that not happening? And it just snowballed into negativity
I
to the point where I had to quit coaching basketball. I had to get myself out of sports, unfortunately. And got me into the world of sports psychology and dealing with everything that people generally call self-help, right? How do I build my willpower? How do I increase my goals, my confidence, my self-talk, anything in that sort of realm. I dove into head first because I was sick of being negative. I was sick of feeling that way, sick of dealing with anxiety. And because I knew the world of sports so well, it was a natural progression for me to be able to figure out how does this mindset work within the world of sports and within the world of athletes and performers. And that's sort of what has gotten me to where I'm at today.
Right. But for our listeners out there, and why this is so important and what drew me to Jeff's manuscript, among many things, not just self-help, but I too went through about when I got back from the first Gulf War, early 90s, many decades ago, I suffered from panic attacks, and it was debilitating. And as an officer and a commander, I was so locked up sometimes I couldn't even function. And like Jeff was talking about it in his book, and I was watching a documentary on Elvis, and Elvis went through it. And so I just want to say to our listeners out there, if you are going through a stage where you just feel like, man, this is overwhelming, you really need to get this book, because what Jeff did is he recognized it, and I did the same thing. I knew I was in pain, but I'm like, I can't live like this. And I can't medicate myself out of this because I'm in the
Right.
military with clearances, thank God. And so I had to find a way. I have to deal with it. And it was really reprogramming up here, the stinking thinking, the inner rival, your own worst enemy. And I love that Jeff's book really gives you all of the tools, and that Jeff, and he talks about it in his opening, he immersed himself in everything. He said, this is where I am. I don't want to be here. And I'm going to read and research everything I can, because you look at people that go to war. Jeff draws heavily in his book on athletes and Marcus Luttrell and Kobe Bryant, these wonderful people that have dealt with a heck of a lot of stress, and we all go through it, but how they conquered it. And then Jeff took it out there. So Jeff, this isn't just for athletes though. I mean, I'm sharing how it resonated with me.
Right.
Can you share some of the things that really would apply not just for the athletic field, because emotional regulation is needed for every human being that has emotions out there. So what are some of the things that you touch on the book? It's very tool oriented about, hey, don't just wish it away. Here's what you can do to silence the inner rival.
Right. I mean, I went the avenue of sports, and the whole book definitely does not just cover sports. It involves a lot of different areas. But for me, I grew up playing sports. I know sports. That's a big part of my life. So for me to thread that into the mental side, it was just sort of a natural thing for me to do. But I draw, like you said before, I draw on a lot of military references, some spiritual references, just people that do performing and speaking. It really is, like you said, built for all areas of life. With the 10 tools that I go through, some are going to resonate more with others than different tools. And what it really is are 10 different ways that I have personally used to sort of quiet that negative voice, right? We all have it built into our DNA to be negative at first. That's how we survived for so many years as a people. We need to look at how things could hurt us or injure us or whatever. Unfortunately, or I should say, fortunately, we don't have a lot of those same worries and stresses today, but our natural reaction is still to look at the negative first. And that's always going to be there. That's never going to go away. What this does is it helps you sort of disengage from that automatic negativity, and then you are able to choose the voice that you want to have, which often we want to choose something positive and productive. And then when I say choose something positive, I don't mean happy-go-lucky, everything's sunshine and roses. It's how can I think in a way that's going to be productive for me. And this works well, if you're dealing with traffic, if you're dealing with a relationship, if you're having work deadlines or a sales meeting coming up, or you're a concert pianist that has a big performance coming up. This sort of mindset works and it builds with anybody sort of in any area. Yet like again, I talk about how it relates to sports, but I use these tools in my everyday life, whether I'm dealing with an athlete, an organization, or just myself. So it really can benefit anybody in any area.
I love it. Well, and I even get a lot of teens that reach out to me, and they're dealing with anxiety. And I know when I was a teenager, I was so fearful. And talk about, my inner rival. Do you think somebody, a younger emerging leader, would be able to take some of these tools and apply them to their life?
Absolutely. I mean, I work with a few high school tennis players right now,
Ah,
and we talk about how to do that sort of stuff. I know everybody that's gone through, those teen years. That's probably when we have the most difficulty understanding our feelings and emotions. There's so much changing and going on in our lives. Like I said, a big source of my anxiety came from judging myself or comparing myself to other people. Well, one of the chapters in the book is controlling the controllables and understanding what you can control. You can't control any of that other stuff from other people. All you can control is your own thoughts and your own actions. And a lot of those worries and stresses I think that teenagers definitely go through is judgment from other people, or am I as cool or as smart or as nice as whatever is the next person. That's a lot of those teen worries, I think. And if you only worry about what you can control about, which is your thoughts and your actions, it can help to eliminate some of those stresses and worries and judgments of other people. So I think it's a great tool for teens. I think that's a difficult one because at that age, we're so worried about what other people think. But yes, I think it can definitely help to limit some of those fears and anxieties if you're starting to build those into your everyday life.
I couldn't agree more. So, Jeff, for our listeners out there that are thinking about, hey, this sounds interesting. Should I get this book? Can you just give them an idea of why they should get this book and who this book is really for?
I mean, kind of like what you and I have both said, it really is for everybody. I think that everybody can get something out of it, right?
Yes.
Like, I don't think every chapter will resonate with every single person all the time, but I think everybody can find at least one or two chapters that will resonate with them and help to make their life a little more positive and productive. I think as a society, we are in a kind of crazy time. And I think that, again, as a society, a lot of us, it's easy for us to see the negatives just with some of the chaos that's going on. And this allows us to not focus on some of those negatives quite as much, and maybe change our perspective to see the positives in ways that can kind of help us grow and not have as much stress and anxiety. So, I think there is something for everyone in here, whether you're a teen or 95 years old. You can find something in here that's going to benefit your life and, just lower that stress and that anxiety that we deal with on a daily basis, just even a little bit.
I love it. Well, Jeff's book, and again, you know me, and I'm an information hound. Jeff's book is really well researched, so it's highly informative, but it's also inspirational. And Jeff has actual exercises at the end of each chapter, so you can think, you can harness, and then you can apply and start working on it. So I love books that are very, like informational, but also really inspirational. So Jeff, where can people reach out to you? We're going to have all this in the show notes or anything like that. But do you do coaching? Do you do speaking? I know we've got this tremendous book out there, but, who should reach out to you if they wanna, even before they get their book, talk to you about, hey, something they're struggling with?
Sure. Yeah. I've done a few things with some athletic teams as high school teams at the moment. But any organization that wants, whether it's working with a sales team or meeting with an entire organization, how to just build some of these, I would say, stopping of the negative mindsets into your culture. I do work with athletes individually. I have worked with some pianists as well, some performing concert pianists as well. I've spoken with some of those groups. So really anybody that just wants to change a mindset, we can work to figure out what it is and how we need to change it. Whether it's athletics, whether it's music, whether it's sales, it really doesn't matter. They really are all the same thing. It's just how do we want to go about silencing that negative voice in our head?
Absolutely, and they're trying to be the best. And on a podcast I had yesterday, one of the guests said a leader's job is to give people a better version of themselves. And that
Sure.
is exactly what you and your book are doing. So, for our listeners out there, it's going live. Today is launch day. You can get it at Tremendous Life Books or you can get it on Amazon.com. Please go out there, share, grab a copy. We'll have some special deals, all that good stuff going on, and how to contact Jeff. And Jeff, just thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I know for our listeners out there, I've got so much detail. There's quite a few things in Jeff's book for all the stuff that I know that I got out of it and I have employed already in my life, which is why my 2023 is so tremendous already. So Jeff, thank you so much.
Tracy, I can't thank you enough for everything you've done for me in the process of building this book and getting it out there. And I'm looking forward to seeing how it all goes, and hopefully we can help thousands of people and maybe even more.
Absolutely. Okay, to our tremendous tribe out there, thank you for being a part of it. It's all about the people you meet and the books you read. Here you met tremendous Jeff, and you're about to read his tremendous book, Inner Rival: Silencing the Negativity Within, fresh off the presses from Tremendous Leadership. Thank you for being a part of our tribe. Thank you again, Jeff. Everybody, have a tremendous rest of the day.